Dominic King Show.
From Gravesend.
BBC Radio Kent.
Welcome to Gravesend with the Dominic King Show. We're live from the historic steel-hulled lightship LV-21, this floating arts and performance space.
Yes, I am joined up here with Adam Taylor, and he's someone with 13 years experience in canoeing right here in Kent and on the Thames and Medway Estuary, and he's going to give us his estuary stories. Adam, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us on the ship. It's amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Emma. It is a beautiful ship and it's a lovely evening as well.
It really is. It's really warm and the sun is about to set at around 8:30ish, so we're going to get that sunset as well. Adam, you've given lots of talks about the estuary and even here on the LV-21.
I have indeed. So my talk is basically, it's about the islands of the Medway Estuary. So the Medway Estuary is like a vast tidal lake, if you will, with a river running through the middle of it. And lots of little islands. There's hundreds of islands. Most of them are just small salt marshes. But there are five really interesting islands, and that's what my talk is about. So the idea is to show people what's there without them having to actually go there.
So you mentioned the islands. Tell us a little bit more about them and what we can find on them.
Okay, so we got Hoo Island, which is by far the biggest island in the estuary. There used to be a little railway on that island. It wasn't a passenger railway, it was a railway for dredging material because you had this massive military industrial complex that was Chatham Dockyard next door to it. So there's lots of dredging being dumped on that island, and it's risen, the layers of the island have risen. So it's probably about the height of maybe a 4-storey house now. There's a fort there as well. There's two forts, one on Hoo Island and one on what we call Darnett Island. It's also known as Bishop's Marsh. And these forts were built in Victorian times to defend against a potential attack of the dockyard. Then we also have Normarsh, where there was a farm there up until the 1930s, late 1930s. And there were causeways that used to link a lot of these islands. They're all long gone now. And then we have Dead Man's Island. So Dead Man's Island is always quite interesting. There's two ways of looking at Dead Man's.
Is that quite attractive to tourists then? Is that in particular because of the name? Or
You'd be surprised. So Dead Man's Island sounds like something out of a treasure.
Yeah.
So, but there's two ways of looking at it. One is that it's wow, what a fantastic name, how exciting, and the other one is that it is a mass grave essentially. So it should be treated with respect. There's nothing really there either. Then you've got the World War I German submarine that's out on one of the islands, one of the tiny islands in Stoke Marsh, and my friends and I did some research and found that the captain of the submarine was called Alfred Court, spelled with a K. And we decided to name the island in his honour.
oh wow! So you had the honour of naming it after him.
Yes, so we called it Court Island, although
Fantastic.
it's only us that really call it Court Island, and a lot of other people don't. But it's very popular amongst people that go boating on the Medway Estuary and can get out there, and not a lot of people, not everyone can. So that's what the presentation is also about: is showing people who can't get out there what's there. It's also a very important area for birds internationally. So
Yeah, the muddies, isn't it?
yeah, so the muddies, that's a different thing. The muddies were basically people that dug mud.
Oh, apologies,
Yeah.
I'm confusing that
That's
for a bird.
okay.
Look at me.
I think there probably is a muddy bird somewhere. But as I was saying, it's very important for bird wildlife out there. So the whole place is like Heathrow Airport for birds. There's always birds.
Wow.
Always birds coming and going, and in sort of late autumn is the least impactful time for people to be out on the estuary. The muddies were they were basically Victorian labourers that dug big chunks of mud out of the marshes to be processed for cement making further down the river. They were hard-drinking, hard-working men. There were two gangs that lived in rival villages, and they would often fight each other on a Friday night, getting quite drunk. But these guys were around for about 140 years, obviously generations, and they took out literally millions of tons of mud from the estuary. They caused a lot of ecological damage, and it got so bad in sort of around the turn of the century, 1900, that the Navy stepped in and said, you have to start regulating these muddies because they're digging out so much mud, it's changing the tide times, how the water flows into.
Oh wow, so it massively impacted the landscape.
Massively. Yeah, it's never really recovered.
Has it not? Still to this, about 100 years later, it's still not?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the other thing about these islands, a lot of the islands that I show in my presentation, is they're going to be gone within living memory. There's going to be rising tide, rising sea levels, there's also going to be erosion, and a lot of these islands are going to be long gone, probably around maybe in the next 20 years or something like that. So again, my presentation presentation is all about showing people what's out there using maps, old maps, historical documents, photographs, and old photographs, and also a few military plans, which are absolutely works of art in themselves. The military design, technical drawings of the forts that are out there.
And Adam, we do have to wrap up shortly, but I do want to ask you one quick question. What do you love most about being on the river, and why is it so important to you?
Nature, and it's a vast wilderness. The estuary is a vast wilderness, and it's so close to London, and it's absolutely beautiful. The bird life is amazing. The sounds, there are seals out there. We've seen porpoises out there, which are kind of like mini dolphins in a way, and pilot whales have come to the beginning of the estuary a few times. It's just a wilderness of kind of bleak beauty throughout the year. It's always changing.
Adam, thank you so much for telling us that's exactly where we are tonight on the LV21 ship. It's been fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
BBC Radio Kent.